Coming up on Network Africa. Man admits stabbing 4 children to death at a kindergarten in Uganda. Senegalese protest cost of living as the country plunges into a severe debt crisis. Plus, your award-winning Channels Television wins Station of the Year, a record 16th time at the Nigeria Media Merit Awards. And it's 17th time for Channels Television. A warm welcome to the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani. We begin in Uganda, where a man has admitted stabbing 4 children, young children, to death at a kindergarten in Kampala, which caters 4 children who are malnourished and vulnerable, saying he believed killing them as human sacrifices would make him wealthy. The defendant, Christopher Onyum, who holds both Ugandan and American citizenship, appeared in court to have the charges formally put to him. He's said to have gained access to the kindergarten by posing as a parent before attacking children with a knife, killing 4 of them. The indictment read in court, said Mr. Onyum recorded a charge and caution statement in which he confessed to killing all the deceased children. However, the attack has sparked outrage in the country, with fury crowds attempting to lynch him before his arrest. Just last week, Uganda's Army Chief Muhoozi Kainerugaba said a death sentence would be pushed for the criminal. Mr. Onyum is remanded in custody pending his trial, for which no date yet has been set. This happened in Senegal. Hundreds of workers, union members and opposition supporters marching through the streets of Dakar, the capital, demanding accountability from the government over what it describes as broken promises and a worsening cost of living crisis as the country plunges into severe debt. The protest, organized by the country's main labor unions and the Front of the Defense of Democracy and the Republic, follows a stinging credit outlook downgrade and a government audit revealing a staggering 132% debt to GDP ratio, fueling a cost of living surge that many fear is only just beginning. Secretary General of the National Confederation of Senegalese Workers, Modi Guiro, says the government has betrayed a deal last year that had frozen strikes in exchange for the promises of better wages and working conditions. Senegal's authorities blame previous governments for the incompetent policies and for inheriting the debt crisis. The West African nation, led by Prime Minister Sonko, came to power in April 2024, promising to carry out ambitious reforms, which include fighting corruption, creating jobs for young people, and maximizing the country's natural resource benefits. The Kenyan government has made a formal protest against a UN report which alleges that its personnel serving in a Security Council authorized mission in Haiti had been involved in sexual abuse. In a letter to the UN chief Antonio Guterres, Kenya's Foreign Minister Musalia Mudavadi expressed concern over the allegations that were first reported in August, saying the claims were promptly investigated and through an inquiry found to be unsubstantiated. The minister adds that the personnel in the multinational security support mission strictly adhered to all rules and no reports had identified any misconduct. A report by the Secretary General made public last week implicates officers under the Kenyan-led mission in 4 cases of rape and other forms of sexual violence. 3 of the alleged victims are said to be children between the ages of 12 to 16. The report adds that the allegations were substantiated by investigations conducted by the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. In South Africa, Nigeria's High Commissioner to the country, Alexandra Ajayi, has urged nationals to respect the country's laws following tensions sparked by protests in the Eastern Cape after the controversial coronation of an alleged Igbo king. Speaking in Pretoria, the acting High Commissioner said the incident underscores the importance of compliance with local regulations. He engages with the South African delegation in efforts to repair and strengthen diplomatic relations between the two countries.
A lot of engagement, community engagement, since the beginning of this old issue. And these are all gamut of things we have been discussing in terms of how to get them, how to make sure that people, live within the context of the local laws and customs, respect the law, respect the constituted authority, the same way we have, even when the South African group came to the mission to picket the mission, so to say, our message was clear that this is not, we don't have any territorial ambition. Nigeria doesn't have that, and this is not a way to undermine anybody. We apologize. We recognize the authority of South African traditional institution, which till tomorrow we continue to accord them. And you could see the Honorable Minister mentioned that I will soon be paying a visit to the traditional authorities as a further way of reinforcing our earlier apology, also to show our commitment to give due respect to who it is due.
By a spirit of collegiality between the two delegations, discussing, of course, important matters around the institution of traditional and Khoisan leadership that we all know arising from what happened in East London, or otherwise known as Gwagombo, in the area of the Bavaro City Metropolitan Municipality under the jurisdiction of Amagachabe Kingship. So we have agreed that the High Commissioner, Acting High Commissioner, will visit the province.
Back here in the country, the U.S. is urging its citizens to reconsider traveling to Nigeria, citing risks such as terrorism, civil unrest, and kidnapping. The most recent travel update from the State Department adds that specific Nigerian states that pose an increased risk have been placed under the most severe warning that advises against all travel in the affected areas. Washington has also authorized the departure of non-emergency staff and their families from the U.S. Embassy in Abuja, following what it calls a deteriorating security situation across the country. The advisory comes amid a fresh surge in deadly attacks across parts of Nigeria, despite an expanding security partnership between the two nations. According to the U.S. State Department, Washington has been working with Abuja on counterterrorism, maritime security, intelligence sharing, and military training. The decision to scale back embassy staffing underscores the gap between strategic military cooperation and the reality of daily insecurity faced by civilians in many parts of the country. I want to bring in now Foreign Affairs Analyst Paul Ejime, who's currently in Benin Republic. Paul, thank you for joining us on the program. While it is not unusual that the State Department would issue travel advisory for citizens in Nigeria, do you think this time this may be coming on the heels of possible backlash from the ongoing war in Iran and the ceasefire that's basically under threat right now because of Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon?
Thank you for having me. Sure, I think the backlash, like you said, could be one of them, but also remember that what the White House has been on Nigeria's case for some time, following the issue of some, what they consider the genocide or whatever, which the government has denied, that led to a Christmas gift from President Trump, the bombing. So I think you should also notice that there are killings again being reported in Benue, in Plateau and other places. I think that is what is being looked at, even though the Gulf state is not. The Middle East is not very far. I think what is happening there has been having impact on everybody, every country. But I think Nigeria has its own insecurity, security problem that the Americans have taken upon themselves. And there is, like we mentioned, there is collaboration. But you know that now raising some of these tiers of the level of security, level 3 and level 4, level 5 is the maximum. But if they are now talking about level 3 and 4 and then asking non-essential staffers of the embassy to leave, I think it raises another question. So one cannot say whether it is mainly because of
Paul?
The fact that Nigeria's internal also happening in the Middle East. So both are connected, but at least there are two layers. Nigeria has its own internal issue, which the United States has been magnanimous in trying to assist, but they are also the fact that
Paul, can you still hear me?
this has happened, or this too late or before something untoward or happens again, and Nigeria loses the collaboration of the U.S.
Yes, indeed. And I know that, it's not, well, the U.S. Does issue out these advisories to citizens, but how often do we find that innocent citizens become the target of such backlash?
Yes, you notice that in the war, well, they call it war, but it's the invasion of Israel and America invading Iran. The fallout has been, very, has reached, reverberates across the continents, across the world. So much so that Iran is looking for soft targets to hurt America or Israeli interests. That's why they are bombing their neighbors in the Middle East. And then anywhere they think can also be, they can reach American interests or Israeli interests, will be fair game for them. I think that is where the problem for ordinary civilians, innocent people, will come in, because you now are drawn into the, into fire that you didn't ignite. That is the danger of the world is a global village, and what happens in one corner in the world can have tremendous or devastating effect across the globe. Also know that oil, gas, all these, you can see how the prices are fluctuating and then hurting the pockets of everybody, including Nigerians and people across the world. So it is, you can no longer do anything and think that it will not have consequences beyond where the scene of crime, to use that word, that phrase.
Well, you are in Benin Republic, a country preparing for elections on Sunday, and I hear the Finance Minister, Romuald Wagani, is the candidate to beat, since he's in the same party with the outgoing President, Patrice Talon. How much clout does he have to impose on the upcoming polls?
So many commentators, Wagani is the person, the man to beat, is almost the anointed candidate of outgoing President Patrice Talon. And he also has as running mate the current vice president. So is a good pair. And given that the constitutional reforms that has taken place in Benin from 2016 when Talon took over. The civil society organizations will tell you that it comes with exclusion of the opposition, and people are virtually living either under one fear or another because, but the government says it's all honky-dory, that there is nothing to fear. But there is, if you go by the election of the parliament and the municipal election that happened on 11th of January, there is the government coalition took over all the parliamentary seats, 109 of them. There is is not sharing that with, and that means power consolidation by President Talon, even though he's not running, he's leaving, but he has also created a Senate where former presidents will serve, and it's likely that he will become the president of that body that will almost be sharing power with the president of the republic. And if Wadani wins, that is going to be that it is almost a continuation of a Talon presidency. So that is what is happening. And there is preparation, there is calm, on the surface, but whether if there is something hiding under it is another matter. That is what one can say on that. Preparations are on, distribution of materials on, and everything is going on according to plan. But the civic space has shrunk to the point that civil society organizations are saying that there is no liberty, that people cannot easily express themselves. But to balance that, the flip of that is that there has been some, tremendous, infrastructural development. Many who have been in Benin before, Cotonou, for instance, will not recognize the kind of development that's taking place. But when you just absorb that with the freedom, the human rights, and then the possibility, how the media and other people can express themselves.
Right. So we'll have to wait.
This complaint about exclusion,
I'm sure we'll have to wait till Sunday to see all of that.
The complication that we have in many African states, not just in Benin.
Paul, thank you so much. We'll have to wait to see that on Sunday. Thank you. Thank you for giving us an update on what's going on in Benin Republic and, of course, your analysis on the situation here in Nigeria. Paul Ejime, Foreign Affairs Analyst in Benin Republic. We're still ahead on the program, though. Zimbabwe wants to work with Russia in space. So says Minister of Science and Technology, Frederick Chava. We'll have updates also for you from Channels Television, Nigeria and Africa's Best. Stay with us. Welcome back, and you can see my smile going from ear to ear. Channels Television has won the Television Station of the Year. As the chairman of the Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, also received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the second edition of the Nigeria Broadcasting Awards. The award ceremony, which held in Abuja, is part of activities marking the 81st General Assembly of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria.
Struggling. You should go back to radio.
The second edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards brings together personalities cutting across the media, politics and other critical stakeholders. The award is organized by the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria to celebrate excellence and professionalism in the industry.
Excellence is not a destination, but a continuous journey. I encourage all practitioners, therefore, to remain steadfast in upholding the highest ethical standards embracing innovation, and using the power of broadcasting to promote unity, development, and national progress.
Sumner, congratulations.
The awards are in 24 categories, including television and radio. Multi-award-winning television station Channels Television clinched the TV Station of the Year award.
And the winner is Channels TV.
There were special recognition awards to veteran broadcasters and governance awards presented to state governors. The chairman of Channels Media Group received the Lifetime Achievement Award in broadcasting. Governor Basi Otu of Cross River State and Governor Ubasani of Kaduna, alongside Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara, also received governance awards. There were also posthumous awards to veteran broadcasters and media personalities.
A huge congratulations to Channels Television and to the chairman, Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo. And as we drop the anchor on the program today, Zimbabwe's Minister of Science and Technology, Frederick Shava, has announced the country's aim to pursue cooperation with Russia in the space sector. He was speaking on the sidelines of the Russian Space Forum in Moscow. The minister emphasized that Zimbabwe is keen to exploring space science over its own country and in collaboration with others. The Russian Space Forum is taking place as part of Space Week and marks the 65th anniversary of the first human spaceflight by Gagarin.
We were in this particular session where the participants were exploring how AI can assist in space science and so on. And it was very interesting. Zimbabwe is very keen in exploring space science over its own country and in collaboration with others. And this is why we're here. Russia is far ahead of Zimbabwe. They come from the times of Yuri Gagarin when he went into space. And before that, Zimbabwe had not even begun to interest itself in its own space over its own country. Now we are interested. And we are cooperating with the Russian Federation so that we can understand and appreciate the gains they've made over the years. And we can fast track ourselves to get to the same in the not so distant future.
As we end the program, here's our fun fact for the day. Did you know that Zimbabwe has a population of over 15 million people? It also has 16 official languages and a high literacy rate of 92%. Zimbabwe is also home to the famous Victoria Falls, one of the 7 wonders of the world, named after the great Zimbabwe ruins, an ancient stone city. And now you know. Thanks for watching Network Africa. I'm Amarachi Ubani.